So if you've been thinking of moving abroad for whatever reason, it could be because you're dissatisfied with your job or the cost of living is crazy, it could be your health, it doesn't matter. You need to watch this video. So I'm going to be sharing today the 5 ways that I was able to move abroad, I was able to slash my debt, I was able to increase my income dramatically, and really just change my whole life around. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Jamilia Grier. I am a lawyer and an entrepreneur. I've been living abroad for over 15 years, and I'm going to be sharing with you today the 5 things that I did to drastically change my life with a move abroad. Stay tuned. I stay on my job, like no days off, so So the first thing you're going to have to do if you really want to make a move abroad work for you is to change the way that you think. And this may sound simplistic, but it's really a lot more than that. You see, a lot of people think that when they move abroad, everything is going to magically change for them. You'll be in a new environment, but other things about you will be the same. You will have the same preferences in clothes, the same habits about what you do with your life, the same habits about spending, etc. And you really need to change the way you think. Now, I don't know your situation personally, but I know that what worked for me was changing how I spend, right? And really trying to get into the mindset of, if I'm going to live abroad and I'm going to have a different type of life, I want to change how I spend. So instead of spending money on things that what I used to think was important to me back in the US, I started changing really what was important to me abroad. And for me, what that looked like was how I eat, my travel experiences, how I take care of myself, and I started investing more in those things. That's the first thing. It also came in the way of the fact that when I'm abroad, I'm not going to do things that I would do back in the US. I'm not going to live that typical American lifestyle. And so all of these things were a change of mindset. It can even show up for you in how you run your business if you're an entrepreneur. What does that look like? Certainly, a lot of people focus on having a domestic business. You can't, this is not for the faint of heart. You have to take bigger risks. If you're running a business, think about how you can make it global. How can you run things across borders? How can you do things larger than what you do now? So changing your mindset is a huge piece of how, when you move abroad, you can really level up. The second thing you have to do, of course, people talk about doing your research before you move, but what does that really mean? Well, when you do your research, you have to look at the cost of living. So, for example, if you currently live in the US right now, you know exactly what you're spending your money on. You can spend $2,000 a month on rent or mortgage. You can spend $1,000 a month on food, another $1,000 on entertainment. You know exactly what that looks like. So when you move abroad, your cost of living will change. You will spend money very differently, and your money will spend very differently, right? I mean, $500 goes much further in Dubai than it does in New York City. You have to do your research very detailed in terms of what category do I spend the most money on, and how much can I expect to spend when I'm living in a new country. Now, a lot of people stop there, but you're not going to stop there, because if you're moving abroad, you most likely will have a new job or you will start your own business. So you have to look at, what currency am I going to be making money in? Am I going to be making US dollars, or am I going to be making local currency? I'll give you an example of that. When I lived in Singapore, we spent an insane amount of money on rent, but I had a big salary at that time. Now that I'm in Dubai and I'm an entrepreneur, I'm making USD, we spend a lot less on rent. And this is so important that you can't compare one country to another and say it's apples to apples. You're really comparing apples to oranges, right? So you really have to do your research. You have to drill down low on the details and really understand what's important to you. Okay. The third thing I want to talk about, which is really the hardest for most people, is that when you make this move abroad, you're going to go through a transition period. And it's not just about culture, it's not just about food, it's not about your mindset, it's about your income. Guys, this is where most people get stuck. Most people move abroad, and if they don't have a job lined up, or even if they do have a job lined up, they get stuck with, how do I level up my income in a new country? And the reason they get stuck is because they're still thinking in that local mindset, which is, I'm going to have one job and that's it, right? That's not going to work for you, right? If you're building something big, you have to think bigger than that. What are the other ways that you can make money? You can keep your 9 to 5, you can keep your job, but you should also think about other ways that you can create income. You could be a creator, you could have a newsletter, you can create content. There's so many ways that you can make additional income. And I think most people get caught with this third step is because they think too traditionally. They think, I'm either going to be a 100% entrepreneur or I'm going to be 100% 9 to 5. That doesn't work all the time, right? You have to think differently. And leveling up your income is a transition. Let me tell you, I've been running my business for 4 years now in Dubai. And I've had periods where I feel as though the business is doing great, we're making a lot of money. And then I have periods where things are really slow and I feel like, well, what's going on here? It doesn't matter. You have to stick with it. You have to remain consistent and you have to think outside of the box. So just because you have a 9 to 5 doesn't mean that you can't think of other ways that you can also make money and keep those revenue streams as well. 4, and this is a biggie, how to slash your bills. Guys, I paid over $120,000 of my law school and grad school loans back when I lived in China. And the way that I did that was changing my spending habits. I aggressively paid down my student debt, and I was able to do it because I changed my mindset. When you move abroad, if you want to slash your debt, you can, and particularly for people who are earning US dollars. If you live in another country where the cost of living is lower, you can use that to your advantage and pay down your debt back home. Pay your bills, pay the credit cards, pay whatever you owe. Just make sure you pay it down and use the fact that the cost of living in your new country is much less than your country back home. A lot of people move and they get into this mindset where, oh, I have so much more liquidity now. I'm gonna buy this, I'm gonna buy all these fancy clothes, I'm gonna go out to eat. You guys see it all the time on Instagram. You see the people who are like, oh, I live in Dubai, I'm going to this brunch, or I'm going to go to this fancy restaurant, and they're just spending their income like crazy. You're not gonna do that. You're gonna level up by paying down your debt. You are gonna pay down, and when you're debt-free, that's when you're really gonna say, hey, now let's also focus on how to multiply my income. Now, we could stop with you, but if I stopped with just what you were doing, this video would not be complete. Because as you guys know, I always talk about kids, I always talk about what I'm doing with my kids, and a move abroad, if you really wanna level up, not just slashing your debt, not just multiplying your income, but really having a long-lasting impact on your legacy, is you cannot forget about your kids. If you're moving abroad with kids, make sure that they're getting the best out of the experience as well. What does that look like? Are they learning a new language? Are they learning a new skill, a new hobby? Are they having more travel experiences? It's just as important for them to get the most out of this move as it is for you. So you've got to make sure that you line up in whatever you can afford. I'm not saying go into debt for your kids so they can learn Chinese. I'm not saying that. But what I am saying is that you can make this a total win, not just for you, but for your kids if you brought them with you as well. So these are the 5 ways that I really was able to change my life when I moved abroad. I was able to get out of debt. I was able to multiply my income. And once again, this move abroad is not just about a geographical move. It's about changing the way you think. It's about changing your priorities and really seeing yourself as someone who's going to level up. I hope that you guys enjoyed this video. And if you want to know more about life in Dubai or moving to Dubai, make sure you check the playlist. I'll link it down below. I've got loads of videos on what it's like to live here. Everything from hair care to housing costs, etc. And if you have a specific question, Leave it for me in the comments below. I look forward to hearing from you, and I will see you next time. Take care.
Stay on my job like no day